Hi everybody. We are going to start in a few seconds. Okay, so please let me introduce Charlie and Pierre. They are from the Nantes agency. I hope you're enjoying this day, this wonderful technosaur, and now we are going to talk about Rust. So let's have fun.
Thank you, Remy. So welcome to this talk, Rust, a language to consider. First, I want to apologize for my rusty English, and so is the talk. So let's begin. First, a short disclaimer. So this talk aims to give you advice and ideas on how to convince your client to choose Rust for their next project, or at least consider it. We won't have time to teach you Rust or get into technical details. So instead, we will show you how to get on the path to Rust. And also, if you could become a Rust addict, after this talk, that'd be great. Thanks. Let's start with who is Rust for. So you might be wondering who is Rust for. Well, Rust is for a lot of people, but let's start with team of developers. Rust is proving to be a productive tool for collaborating among large teams with different levels of system programming knowledge. And the language design is made to forbid elusive and concurrency bugs, allowing the team to spend their time on the program's logic. As for students, the community is very welcoming and happy to answer their questions. And hundreds of companies, large and small, use Rust in production for many different tasks. And we will talk about companies later. And for instance, command line tools, web services, DevOps tooling, embedded devices, and many others. Rust is for people who want to build the Rust programming language, community, developer tools, and libraries. And we'd love to have you to contribute to the Rust ecosystem, if you like. More generally, for all people who value speed and stability. Speaking of speed and stability, when times come to decide which language you will be using, you're usually forced to choose between safety and productivity, speed and ergonomics. But why? Why is this trade-off, and why not pick them all? Rust's greatest ambition is to eliminate the trade-off as it provides all of them: safety, productivity, speed, and ergonomics. So give Rust a try and see if it suits you.
So first, to give you memory safety, strong and powerful type mechanism, and zero cost abstractions, Rust will achieve this by the language concept and the language construction. And to help you along the way, the Rust compiler, rustc, is here to help you getting these things right. And as said Charlie earlier, we won't get into details on how Rust achieves memory safety and these other things. You might want to have a longer version of this talk, and we we will be able to give it later. And so today we will look in depth on tooling and other resources that are provided by the Rust community to help you promote and use Rust. First, when you want to begin with Rust, you have to have the tool chain, the Rust compiler, and the other tools installed on your computer. And to do so, you can use RustUp, which is provided by the community and helps you install the full Rust toolchain on your computer, and also allows you to manage few versions many versions of Rust installed on the same computer. Another tool which is central is in Rust is Cargo, which is the package manager in Rust, and it will help you to bootstrap your project, to build it, to run the unit test. It also helps you to launch a benchmark of your code. Performance is a very important thing when you code in Rust. So it's really helpful to have some tools included to launch benchmarks and know if you're performing good or not. Another debate which comes when you start a new project is often, should we use spaces or tabs? Which width? Where should I put the curly braces? All these formatting questions which should not get in the way when you start something new. So when you code in Rust, you have the tool Rust format, excuse me, which will help you and format your code according to the style guidelines of the Rust project. And it will do this automatically, like some other tools like Pierre in JavaScript or other. And another tool which could be handy is Clippy, which will make some sort of linting and static analysis of your Rust code to detect code smells or bad pattern, which will trigger some bugs or some misprogramming habits. Another, excuse me, just what is great with Rust is that all the tools that I presented are maintained directly by the Rust project, and they come with the language and are provided by the community. You don't have to evaluate and make a choice, should I take this tool or this tool? They are all included in the Rust project. But you might also have to use some other tools to improve your experience. And so you should use a Rust Analyzer, which bring a great experience when you are coding Rust in your IDE. Rust Analyzer implements the language server protocol, which can be used to abstract the language and make it understandable by your IDE. And Rust Analyzer can work with Vim, for example, VS Code, Emacs, and other tools. And it will give you live checks, auto-completion, and that sort of things, which make your developer experience really good.
So how to promote Rust? The Rust community puts a lot of effort into helping Rust users by giving them promotion tools. For instance, if you go to the Rustlang website, you will see a page called Production Users showing the production users. There are more than 130 production companies using Rust in production. This company range from Cloudflare, Dropbox, VH1 Password, Clever Cloud. And you can see that they are providing like white papers on how and for what they use Rust. For instance, Dropbox used it to optimize their cloud storage. Sentry used it to provide a CLI tool, and Coturnix used it to for optimization with machine learning. And so the community keeps track and fosters end users to write about and share their Rust production usage. You can also find some great article about switching to Rust. What is great about this article is that they provide arguments on why Rust might be a better candidate for your need than other languages. They are not there to trash Go or something like this. They tend to focus on what problems they encountered and how they fixed it, and why it might be a good choice for other components. Writing Rust code is not that far from what you might be used to. There are many similarities between Rust and other modern languages. And if you are wondering what's the idiomatic way of implementing something, you can check it on the Programming Idioms website. So if you look at this small slide, it's just a filter of a collection. So you can see that it's not that far from Java if you are used to Java or other languages. So it should not stop you learning Rust.
So another great thing to know when you're beginning Rust is that there already is a repo or registry for communities library, which is crates.io, on which you will find nearly 60,000 crates, libraries that are available to improve your developer experience and to ease the beginning of a new project. You can use libraries. For example, there is a 30 for serialization, deserialization, which is often used with JSON format or that sort of thing, but not only JSON. You can use a tool which is called num for parsing, which is really great. I used it for some projects, and it's really useful. And if you need to make some HTTP request, you can use a crate called request with a W. And if you need to code an HTTP serving application, you can use the framework Rocket, for example. And with this, you will find some things that are already done and will accelerate your projects. And so also to promote Rust, Rust should not be seen as a language for the future. It's already there. It's already used in the field. For example, Firefox uses it greatly. You might have seen a few weeks ago a message that the Linux kernel toolchain is ready for Rust. When you want to code driver for or module for the Linux kernel, the toolchain is ready and you can do it in Rust just now. Also, Android, the operating system for phones, integrates Rust as a replacement for native libraries, which are coded in C or C++. And the project tends to replace some of them with Rust coded libraries, which is really great to have a memory safety on your mobile device and other things, as they tend to be on for a very long time. Oh, excuse me. How to promote Rust? So I see in the chat you're already talking about some things that we cover here. For example, the Rust book, which is a really great resource and is provided by the community. And this is a full-fledged book and documentation, which will help you understand the basics and the concepts of the Rust programming language, but also guide you with the different usage and uses you will have to practice to understand Rust. And another great tool that I used and that is mentioned in the comments is Exercism. Exercism is not focused only on Rust, but might help you learn other language as well. I decided to learn Rust by doing the Rust track on exercism. There are nearly 100 exercises and 13 on the main track. And what is great then is that on the main track, when you complete an exercise, you will have a review from a mentor, and I provided you here an example or review, and it's really a great resource to learn Rust because not only do the mentor gives great review. I think we should all take lessons from what is great in this review. It begins by saying what is good in the code, and then it provides you with some insight and some advice on what you could do differently, or which resource to go next to improve your usage of the Rust language. Another resource that that popped recently, I think it was this week earlier or the previous week, Microsoft shared a resource to learn Rust following 8 modules, which will guide you and give you exercises which you can take on your own computer or on the Rust playground if you want to learn Rust.
Okay, so there are also blogs. Great blogs are on there, like Faster Than Lime, written by Amos, which provide a blog post to discover Rust in about half an hour. And there is also a great Advent of Code series covering in-depth implementation of each day challenge. So I'm a big fan of this blog, and every time I read it, I learn new things. So it's a great way to improve your Rust skills. Every article is like a masterclass article. There are also videos, for instance, Twitch channels. We are showing you two different channels. The first one is Jon. He's working at AWS on the Rust usage internally at AWS and interacting with the ecosystem and community. And there is one great series on his channel, called Cost of Rust, where he covers in-depth topics. So, for instance, if you want to focus on lifetimes, smart pointers, and so on, there are series about it. There's also Ryan, which is a Microsoft Cloud advocate, streaming on YouTube. And you can also go on the Discord called Rust Station. A lot of streamers are there, so you can discover new people and also listen to podcasts. So how to get started with Rust? When learning a new language, you should not start with something too big or too complex. We recommend to start with something new, and you should allow yourself to fail. In other words, you should implement first. And also ask yourself how much you are ready to invest and what you want to learn from this experience. So now that you are going to build something with Rust, you might want to learn what's the best way to make it or just follow a tutorial or something. If you go on the Rustlang website, you will see a section called Build It in Rust. There is about 4 categories, like command line, WebAssembly, networking, embedded. They are a bit like the Rust book, but they are focusing on building applications. So you can, if you want to build something on embedded device, for instance, you can just follow the book starting with embedded.
So one thing we got to cover is the drawbacks of the Rust language. Because when you want to try something new, you should not be naive about what might be the outcome. One first thing with Rust is that the learning curve can be very hard, but it's really great to learn Rust because it will help you understand better what you are doing with your current language. And so, and also, if you're stuck, don't stay alone. Ask or work with others. We did some mob programming, also some pair programming at Zenica. If you have questions about Rust, don't hesitate to ask them. We'll be glad to answer them. Another thing which can be bad about Rust is the compile time. For large program, you need to recompile all the library and all the dependencies. It can be long for the first time, but the compilation is incremental, so you won't have to rebuild all the time. And also, if you don't need to compile and you don't need to use the compilation results, you can just launch a cargo check, which will give you insight on why you are encountering some errors or what mistakes you have done without needing to compiling all the final build. Another thing is that when you're using Rust, there is no runtime. You can't have some reflection API. I don't know if you had been to the ZenSec talk earlier, but they showed how they used Python reflection API to gain some access. You won't have that in Rust. You don't have some reflection API. And that comes with the zero-cost API abstraction that is a postulate for the Rust language. Another thing is that some vendors' libraries are not well supported. For example, like Oracle or IBM DB drivers. But maybe you should not use Rust for now when you are needing to interact with this kind of project.
So who is behind Rust? Again, a lot of people are talking about the Rust book when it comes to learning Rust. And so to promote Rust, we will be talking a lot about the Rustlang website. So if you keep going, reading the Rustlang website, you will see that there is a governance page talking about showing everything, how the project is governed, the different teams, who are their members, how to contact them. There is also the Rust Foundation, which has been created a few months ago, I think. It's an independent non-profit organization supported by major companies, so such as AWS, Google, Huawei, Microsoft, and Mozilla. The Rust programming language is also built by the community, and so you can get everything you need on the website. And the licenses are Apache license version 2 and MIT license. In conclusion, Rust is about empowerment. No matter what kind of code you are writing right now, it empowers you to reach further, to program with confidence in a wide range of domains. The language is designed to guide you towards reliable and efficient code in terms of speed and memory usage. It's expressive and ergonomic enough to make CLI apps, web servers, and many other kinds of code. In other words, it works.
Excuse me. I couldn't find the source for the code, but the second code that you can see is that programming in Rust is like pair programming, but with the compiler as a pair, and it will help you to understand better what you are trying to achieve. And if you want to learn Rust, just join the Rust channel on Zenica Slack. We'll be happy to learn with you. Alors, questions. I see that there are some questions on YouTube. We will answer them quick here, and we will join you on the QA section just after. So Tara, you asked any tutorial courses or resources to learn Rust. We will share you the slides, but there are a lot of resources in addition to those already mentioned. So this, is there some other questions? Other question from Tara. Everything is static and fixed at compile time, but you can always use environment variables or file system to inject some configuration. That's not a problem. And effectively, no runtime is a drawback and an advantage, as it allows zero cost abstractions. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll answer the other questions in the Q&A sections.
Thank you very much, Charlie and Pierre-Yves. This was a very interesting talk. So now if you have questions, you can go in the QA section, and we'll come back in a few minutes for a French-speaking talk about how to hack organization and how to get your customer want to make some move and some changement in his organization. Thank you very much.